Welcome back to Ring of Fire. I'm Mike Papantonio here with Bobby Kennedy and Sam Cedar. If you ask the average person what they thought their life was worth, they'd probably give you a dollar amount that was a lot more than $10. But if you ask corporations what the average American's life is worth, put it to them and you're going to find single digits are going to be their answer. That's not an exaggeration. Corporations routinely reduce costs by eliminating safety features and products that literally only cost a few dollars. The end result is usually the same. Unlucky men, unlucky women, and children who lose their life just so the company can put a few extra dollars in their pockets. Joining me now to discuss that is Linda Lipson. She's the CEO of the American Association for Justice. Linda, it looks like the story's being told again and again in the U.S., and that is corporate America is just changing all the rules about decency in the way they do business. Whether it's a medical device, a pharmaceutical company, a manufacturer of bulletproof vests, it just seems like their need to make another fraction of a penny will drive them to do damn near anything. Isn't that what you're seeing out there? I mean, but for the civil justice process, how do we change any of that?
After many of these products go on the market, after the manufacturers learn that the products are going to cause injury and death, they try to get out of it through court challenges, and then they go to Congress. They spend a gazillion dollars on lobbyists to try to get Congress to give them immunity. So it's ironic in a way that if the companies really wanted to save money, they would fix the problem.
They wouldn't make products that kill people and then cover it up. You just mentioned something I thought was interesting. I think of the Medtronic Sprint Fidelis case where you had a lead cable that connects defibrillators to the patient's heart. And the problem was the company clearly knew that those leads were cracking and that there were electrical problems, and they didn't know whether it would shock a heart in or out. I mean, can you imagine walking around with that in your body? The company knew about it, covered it up for 3 years or more. And then in the end, you have the Supreme Court gives them immunity for killing people. I mean, basically killing people, Linda.
This is a very sad example. Recently we had a kid of about 3 years old in our offices. Her whole family have this heart defect, and they all have defibrillators. What I heard from this little girl was that it's not that she just gets one shock. She gets repeated shocks that throw her across the room. And she and her family went to Congress to try to get Congress to look into this and make sure that this never happens again and that this preemption that was done by the Supreme Court is reversed.
Yeah, preemption meaning that if the FDA looked at it and the FDA was lied to, and the FDA is as stupid as they usually have been over the last couple of decades and underfunded and really nothing more than just an extension of corporate America, when they say it's okay to sell a product, according to our Supreme Court, well, then it's okay. It doesn't make any difference if they've lied, cheated, stolen. It doesn't make any difference. The Supreme Court said, yeah, you can do that. You can kill people, and then we're going to give you immunity.
Well, and then Congress needed to react last year. Instead of reacting, this incredible unfairness continues to this day. And, even though this product was recalled, remember, this is inside of your heart. And so many people still have this faulty product inside their heart, and they can do nothing about it.
Yeah, my memory was that Medtronic offered to replace the lead and cover only $800 in something that would cost somewhere around $12,000 to $15,000 procedure. So out of the good of their heart said, yeah, we'll pay you $800. And what's really ugly about this, Linda, is the judge that had the right, he could have solved this problem. There was a way to get around the preemption issue. But, just as you would expect, just look at the judge's politics. And he said, we can't do anything about it. People were dying. People had to have the operation, couldn't afford to have the operation. Medtronic still out there, still doing business. Nobody went to jail. It's interesting. If you talk to most people, most lawyers who handle these product liability cases for a living, and you ask them, would you rather see these guys that make these decisions to knowingly kill people? Would you rather see them in handcuffs going to prison, or would you rather be able to sue them? for money damages. Every time you ask that question, they say, yeah, we would prefer to see them go to prison like any other murderers. I mean, it's across the board. But unfortunately, you can't put them in prison, so you can go after their money. How about look, talking about children, how about Traslol or Vandia or Zyprexa? Zyprexa is a good example of a children being victimized. Talk about that case.
Well, Zyprexa is also a very, very sad example. This is a product used for schizophrenia in kids. And what was happening over and over again is they noticed that kids were becoming morbidly obese after taking Zyprexa. And it was causing them to, again, have diabetes. The problem is that the company knew at the time that this was a side effect, yet failed to warn about it.
Well, it was very specific. They got this document. They're told clearly, everybody in the company at Eli Lilly knew the problem, and there's a document out there that says to the people who are the sales reps, don't tell anybody about this. Don't introduce this issue to the people you're selling it to.
That's right. Don't even talk about it. It's almost like the company decided that it was the consumer it was none of their business. And then they go to Congress and ask for immunity. I mean, it is unbelievable. When you really think about it, we need a different corporate culture in America. If the companies would just fix it and stop whining to Congress about how they need to be immunized because they're failing to be competitive in the world, then that would be a better business model for them. And ultimately, they would do better. And everyone would be safer.
Yeah, in this case, the one we're talking about with Zyprexa that, ended up causing children to, basically die from diabetes. Diabetes is a terrible disease.
Right.
So in that case, Eli Lilly went as far as a lot of the pharmaceutical companies go, and that's to have ghostwriters actually go out there and the company writes the medical journal article and then gives it to a doctor, pays the doctor money, that doctor puts his name on it, and all of a sudden it's in the journals as being a safe product. I'm working on a case right now, Yaz. Killing people with strokes, VTEs, killing people with heart attacks, blood clots. The company actually went out and tried to found doctors who would put their name on an article that said that none of that's really real, that it's safe, you can take it. And so there are no limits, you see. That's what's so bothersome here, Linda. There are no limits anymore. There certainly is no sense of decency among these people.
Well, what is incredibly frustrating is, when we talk about Eli Lilly and Zyprexa, you go back to throughout history. I mean, you'd think that these companies would learn from their mistakes. I mean, so many years ago, Eli Lilly marketed a product called DEF to prevent miscarriages in women. And not only did it not prevent miscarriages, it caused cancer in not only the women, but their children, and they passed it along to their grandchildren. So, I mean, this was a
three generations,
of generational abuse, and yet you would expect that one product and the history of that one product would have caused a different kind of corporate culture, and instead now we see Zyprexa and the related problems of morbid obesity in kids. I mean, you just want to tear your hair out and say, just fix it.
There's real reasons that there's been that shift. We'll talk about it when we get back. I'm with Linda Lipson, who knows more about corporate culture dishonesty than most anybody out there. We'll be right back with Linda Lipson. We're back on Ring of Fire. I'm Mike Papantonio. Right now I'm talking with Linda Lipson, the CEO of the American Association for Justice, about the ways that corporations cut safety costs by putting American consumers' lives in danger just so they can make a little more money. Linda, before the break, we were talking about what is it that drives a corporation to say, okay, well, it's okay to kill people, and that it's okay to lie, cover up the fact that we know that the product that we're putting out there will kill people. And yeah, it's totally acceptable to have a Supreme Court that says it's okay to kill people. Yeah. And it's just a way of life just to have Congress say it's okay to kill people. There's reasons for it, though.
I think that people justify action. I think that it's about profit. And I don't think that they go about, they're in the business of hurting people. But, one decision leads to another. And once they see a big fiasco, instead of really fixing it, they compound it. I mean,
Linda, you and I agree on most things. I disagree with what you just said.
Right.
You know that I've been to trial on more big cases than anybody in America, and I know that there is not this idea that they don't set it. They might not start out knowing that they're killing people. This is the best example I can give you. Simplicity Crib, you recall, it was a crib that was suffocating children because it was defective. Children would fall through the crib door and they would hang themselves and they would die from suffocation. So Simplicity doesn't, they do a recall, but they know there are about 2 or 3 million Simplicity Cribs out there. So the way they get around it, knowing that the cribs are killing children, the way they get around it is they sell the company, they change the name of the company, and life goes on. You know the story?
People want to buy safe products. If you want to market a safe product, people are going to buy it. Do you really cut corners?
Do you really think, Linda, that that you would advise anybody these days to go to a doctor, have the doctor prescribe a medicine, and then take that medicine without doing absolute digging and due diligence before you take? Would you ever tell anybody? And there's a reason for that. First of all, the doctors sometimes are part of the process. They pay these doctors to do these clinical trials. The doctor has a direct interest in making sure the clinical trial goes well. He tells his doctor friends at seminars, this is a good drug. That doctor then hires another doctor to write a ghost written article that's completely made up. I mean, there's not based on real clinicals. I'm dealing this 2 days from now. I'll be taking a deposition of the person in charge of marketing on the Yaz case. I couldn't make these documents up that are any more horrendous than what I see, where there's an absolute intent to capture the doctors, have them working for you, lie to the FDA, and they do something called direct marketing scams, where they go on in places like the internet and the magazines, and they just simply make stuff up. And the drug ends up killing women, 22-year-olds, 20-year-olds. And in the documents, we see that they're trying to market to 15-year-olds.
You know, the history of these products used on women, particularly geared towards anything to do with reproduction, is a very harrowing tale. And it goes, you go from the Dalcon Shields to DES, to Copper 7, to Yaz.
What was the Copper 7?
Copper 7 was an IUD.
Yeah, that's right.
That interacted with the body by basically putting copper up your uterus. Mm-hmm. And it caused the same problems as the Dalcon Shield. And it was right, and the Dalcon Shield is actually a perfect example of this, where once it was recalled, and once the nation really got the point that it was going to cause pelvic inflammatory disease and kill women or cause them to be sterilized, that product was, after all of that hoopla, they marketed it overseas.
Yes.
To third world countries.
Yes, after they knew. Same thing with, if you remember, Factor 8. Factor 8 was contaminated with AIDS virus. It was they were told they couldn't sell it in America, so they sold it overseas. Here's the difference. Overseas in France, somebody went to jail. Somebody went to prison because they were part of the it was Bayer, Baxter and Bayer, part of the cover-up. Mm-hmm. The Department of Justice here has never thrown these criminals in prison because they wear white shirts, they wear nice ties, they have Rolex watches, and they work in tall buildings. And they kill people, but we won't throw them in jail because they are part of that white-collar elite that can kill people, make money, and get away with it. And so I don't know what else you do, Linda, except to do what you do. I know you represent consumer groups all over this country by saying we're the people that will go after these companies, and you do that. The AAJ, my God, without the AAJ that you're part of, who would be carrying the spear for the consumer? Who would? Not government. Government won't do it. The industry won't police themselves. Who's going to carry the spear for the damn consumer?
We are going back to where we were in the early part of the century, where it's really let the buyer beware, and not okay. I mean, the buyer doesn't have a medical degree. The buyer shouldn't have to do the things that you talked about, which is make yourself completely knowledgeable about every drug that you're taking. That's what you rely on experts to help you through that. And it's become very dangerous to have to take these drugs that you're not sure that they've been tested on. Let's say you're a woman, you're not sure if they've been tested on enough women, you're not sure if they've been tested on enough kids, if it's a drug affecting kids.
Linda, I'll go further than that. Having been somebody who, I'm not exaggerating, I don't think there's been a major pharmaceutical case that I have not been part of the trial team, taking the depositions. I would tell you this. I don't care how much you trust your doctor may be a dear friend, he doesn't want to do you any harm, but the doctor is a victim too. So when the doctor tells you take this because it's going to make you feel better, you must do your due diligence. You must find out about support groups that say, yeah, this drug killed my nephew, or this made me go blind, or whatever it is. And when you do that, it's all you can do to protect yourself. Linda Lipson, the AAJ, I am so glad. I am so glad that you're out there. I really am. I see every major case I handle. You're always at the front, and you're always saying, look, let me shine a light on this. And America ought to be grateful for what you and the AAJ do every day. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye. Linda Lipson is the CEO of the American Association for Justice. You can find the research online at justice.org.